Brace yourself. Gonna pass up anytime now. Collect yourself. Things will never be the same in this sad world. Walk around the light a bit, trying to make the pieces fit to a puzzle with a million missing pieces. When I'm feeling fine is when I discover that I'm afraid to blow my cover, and there's something very wrong with this. So sit back in your hole.
So good morning, everybody. Good to be with you today. We are continuing our voyage along with Gilgamesh in the Epic of Gilgamesh. So, Caleb, why don't you just tell us what happened next?
Bitterly, Gilgamesh wept for his friend Enkidu. He wandered over the wilderness as a hunter. He roamed over the plains. In his bitterness, he cried,
"How can I rest? How can I be at peace? Despair is in my heart. What my brother is now, that shall I be when I am dead. Because I am afraid of death, I will go as best I can to find Utnapishtim.
Utnapishtim. I practiced too all morning, and I
Utnapishtim, whom they call the faraway.
That's how. Sammy, is that how you would say it? Okay. Wait, what?
You started talking. Whom they call the faraway, for he has entered the assembly of the gods.
So Gilgamesh traveled over the wilderness. He wandered over the grasslands, a long journey in search of Utnapishtim, whom the gods took after the great flood, and they set him to live in the land of Dilmun, in the garden of the sun, and to him alone of men they gave everlasting life.
Okay, so Gilgamesh, we know Gilgamesh is shattered by the death of Enkidu. All right, you broke the man's heart, Enkidu. You broke his heart, and in the lamentation that we heard performed musically, Gilgamesh is not just heartbroken. He's struggling with something that we all face eventually. So I hope you haven't had to face it at all or many times, but it's just a part of life. When we have to say goodbye to the people that are close to us, there's an experience of disbelief, of what is this death? Even though everything dies, and we know everything dies, and we've heard of a million things dying until we experience it, all of a sudden when it hits home, when it really touches our hearts, like this doesn't make any sense. Something is wrong with this. As much as death is an integral part of nature, that's only true until you really experience. Then all of a sudden there is something perverse and unnatural about death. And that's what Gilgamesh expressed in the lamentation. And now, because he's not just you or me, he's an epic hero, he's going to take matters into his own hand and do something about it. So he is going to find the only man that has ever beaten death. In the Sumerian mythology behind the poem Epic of Gilgamesh, there is only one human being who has ever been granted immortality, immunity from death, and that is Utnapishtim, also called the faraway. So he is going to travel through the realm of the gods, through the underworld, to find Utnapishtim and find out what his secret is.
So at length Gilgamesh came to Mashu, the great mountains about which he had heard many things, which guard the rising and the setting sun. Its twin peaks are as high as the wall of heaven, and its paps reach down to the underworld. At its gate the scorpions stand guard, half man and half dragon. Their glory is terrifying. Their stare strikes death into men. Their shimmering halo sweeps the mountains that guard the rising sun. When Gilgamesh saw them, he shielded his eyes for the length of a moment only. Then he took courage and approached, when they saw him so dismayed.
Could you finish your
Oh,
sentence?
okay.
I have some traveling to do.
Okay. When they saw him so undismayed, the man scorpion called to his mate. This. Okay.
All right. The man scorpion.
Two-thirds of God, but one-third of man.
Huh?
Wait, what?
This is the one.
Oh, this one who comes to us now is flesh of the gods.
And the mate of the man scorpion answered, you can be both man scorpions.
Two-thirds of God, but one-third of man.
Then he called to the man Gilgamesh, who called to the child of the gods.
Why have you come to great of journey? For what have you traveled so far, crossing the dangerous waters? Tell me the reason for your coming.
Gilgamesh answered,
For Enkidu, I loved him dearly. Together we endured all kinds of hardships. On his account I have come, for the common lot of man has taken him. I have wept for him day and night. I would not give up his body for burial. I thought my friend would come back because of my weeping. Since he went, my life is nothing. That is why I have traveled here in search of Utnapishtim, my father, for men say he has entered the assembly of the gods and has found everlasting life. I have a desire to question him concerning the living and the dead.
I mean, that's the guy you'd want to talk to, right? Thank you, man scorpion. Thank you, Gilgamesh, although we'll have more from Gilgamesh. So we're going to leap ahead a little bit. Gilgamesh goes on his journey. He encounters a number of gods and divine beings and supernatural beings and goes to mystical places. But we're going to get him through all of that and up to where he's about to meet Utnapishtim. So he's about to take a ride on a boat, and this is where we're going to go into the reading on Schoology. When you open up the Schoology reading, you want to scroll down to the end of the second paragraph where it says, so Urshnabi the ferryman. So Gilgamesh is now riding with this divine ferryman whose job is to take you across the river to the underworld and to the magical, mystical places. Let me find my spot too.
I'll think about it.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Kenneth.
So Urshanabi the ferryman brought Gilgamesh to Utnapishtim, whom they call the Faraway, who lives in Dilmun at the place of the sun's transit, eastward of the mountain. To him alone of men the gods had given everlasting life. Now Utnapishtim, where he lay at ease, looked into the distance, and he said in his heart, musing to himself. Did you select Utnapishtim?
Yeah, that's me. Okay. Why does the boat sail here without tackle and mast? Why are the sacred stones destroyed, and why does the master not sail the boat? That man who comes is none of mine. Where I look, I see a man whose body is covered with skins of beasts. Who is this who walks up the shore behind Urshnabi? For surely he is no man of mine. So I'm just going to do the little short narrative parts in the middle. So Utnapishtim looked at him and said, what is your name, you who come here? Gilgamesh, get up here. What is your moron name, you who come here wearing the skins of beasts, with your cheeks starved and your face drawn? Where are you hurrying to now? For what reason have you made this great journey, crossing the seas whose passage is difficult? Tell me the reason for your coming.
Gilgamesh is my name. I am from Uruk, from the house of Anu.
If you're Gilgamesh, why are your cheeks so starved and your face drawn? Why is despair in your heart, and your face like the face of one who has made a long journey? Yes, why is your face burned with heat and cold? And why do you come here wandering over the wilderness in search of the wind?
Why should not my cheeks be starved and my face drawn? Despair is in my heart, and my face is the face of one who has made a long journey. It was burned with heat and with cold. Why should I not wander over the pastures, my friend, my younger brother, who seized and killed the bull of heaven and overthrew Humbaba in the cedar forest, my friend who was very dear to me and endured dangers beside me, Enkidu, my brother whom I loved. The end of mortality has overtaken him. I wept for him 7 days and nights, till the worm fasted on him. Because of my brother, I am afraid of death. Because of my brother, I strayed through the wilderness. His fate lies heavy upon me. How can I be silent? How can I rest? He is dust, and I shall die also, and be laid in the earth forever.
And again, Gilgamesh said, speaking to Utnapishtim,
It is to see Utnapishtim, who we call the faraway, that I have come this journey. For this I have wandered over the world. I have crossed many difficult ranges. I have crossed the seas. I have wearied myself from traveling. My joints are aching, and I have lost acquaintance with sleep, which is sweet. My clothes were worn out before I came to the house of Siduri. I have killed the bear and hyena, the lion and the panther, the tiger, the stag and the ibex, all sorts of wild game and small creatures of the pastures. I ate their flesh and I wore their skins. And that was how I came to the gate of the young woman, the maker of wine, who bared her gate of pitch and bitumen against me. But from her I had news of the journey. So then I came to Urshanabi, the ferryman, and with him I crossed over the waters of death. O Father Utnapishtim, you who have entered the assembly of the gods, I wish to question you concerning the living and the dead. How shall I find life for which I am searching?
So maybe Utnapishtim is going to speak to him words of great comfort now. We'll see. There is no permanence. Do we build a house to stand forever? Do we seal a contract to hold for all time? Do brothers divide an inheritance to keep forever? Does the flood time of rivers endure? It is only the nymph of the dragonfly who sheds her larva and sees the sun in his glory. From the days of old there is no permanence. The sleeping and the dead, how alike they are. They are like a painted death. What is there between the master and the servant when both have fulfilled their doom? When the Anunnaki, the judges, come together, and Mametun, the mother of destinies, together they decree the fates of men. Life and death they allot, but the day of death they do not disclose.
I look at you now, Utnapishtim, and your appearance is no different from mine. There is nothing strange in your features.
That's right. Totally normal features.
I thought I should find you like a hero prepared for battle, but you lie here taking your ease on your back. Tell me truly, how was it that you came to enter the company of the gods and to possess everlasting life?
I will reveal to you a mystery. I will tell you the secret of the gods. Yeah, well, just listen up. You know the city of Shuruppak? It stands on the banks of Euphrates. That city grew old, and the gods that were in it were old. There was Anu, lord of the sky, their father, and warrior Enlil, their counselor, Ninurta, the helper, and Anugi, watcher over canals. And with them also was Ea, also known as Enki, who was a god of the ocean. In those days, the world teemed. The people multiplied. The people multiplied. The world bellowed like a wild bull, and the great god was aroused by the clamor. Enlil heard the clamor, and he said to the gods in council, "The uproar of mankind is intolerable, and sleep is no longer possible by reason of the babel." So people are making too much noise, and they're keeping the gods up at night. And this is disturbing to the gods. So the gods agreed. Oh, this escalated quickly. So the gods agreed to exterminate mankind. Enlil did this, but Ea, because of his oath, warned me in a dream. He whispered their words to my house of reeds. "Reed house, wall, O wall, hearken, reed house, wall, reflect, O man of Shuruppak, son of Ubaro Tutu, tear down your house and build a boat. Abandon possessions and look for life. Despise worldly goods and save your soul alive. Tear down your house, I say, and build a boat. These are the measurements of the bark you shall build her. Let her beam equal her length. Let her deck be roofed like the vault that covers the abyss. Then take up into the boat the seed of all living creatures. When I understood, I said to my Lord, Behold, what you have commanded I will honor and perform. But how shall I answer the people, the city, the elders? Then Ea opened his mouth and said to me, his servant, Tell me this. I have learned that Enlil is wrathful against me. I dare no longer walk in his land nor live in his city. I will go down to the gulf to dwell with Ea my lord. But on you he will rain down abundance, rare fish and shy wildfowl, a rich harvest tide. In the evening the rider of the storm will bring you wheat in torrents. In the first light of dawn all my household gathered round me. The children brought pitch, and the men whatever was necessary. On the 5th day I laid the keel and the ribs, and I made fast the planking. The ground space was 1 anchor. Each side of the deck measured 120 cubits, making a square. I built 6 decks below, 7 in all. I divided them into 9 sections with bulkheads between. I drove in wedges where needed. I saw to the punt poles and laid in supplies. The carriers brought oil in baskets. I poured pitch into the furnace and asphalt and oil. More oil was consumed in caulking, and more again the master of the boat took into his stores. I slaughtered bullocks for the people, and every day I killed sheep. I gave the shipwrights wine to drink, as though it were river water, raw wine and red wine and oil and white wine. There was feasting then, as there is at the time of the New Year's festival. I myself anointed my head. On the 7th day the boat was complete. Then was the launching full of difficulty. There was shifting of ballast above and below till 2/3 was submerged. I loaded into her all that I had of gold and of living things, my family, my kin, the beasts of the field, both wild and tame, and all the craftsmen. I sent them on board, for the time that Shamash had ordained was already fulfilled when he said, In the evening, when the rider of the storm sends down the destroying rain, enter the boat and batten her down. The time was fulfilled. The evening came. The rider of the storm sent down the rain. I looked out at the weather, and it was terrible. So I too boarded the boat and battened her down. All was now complete, the battening and the caulking. So I handed the tiller to Puzur Amuri, the steersman, with the navigation and the care of the whole boat. With the first light of dawn, a black cloud came from the horizon. It thundered within where Adad, lord of the storm, was riding. In front over hill and plain, Shulat and Hanish, heralds of the storm, led on. Then the gods of the abyss rose up. Nergal pulled out the dams of the nether waters. Ninurta, the warlord, threw down the dikes, and the 7 judges of hell, the Anunnaki, raised their torches, lighting the land with their livid flame. A stupor of despair went up to heaven when the god of the storm turned daylight to darkness, when he smashed the land like a cup. The whole day the tempest raged, gathering fury as it went. It poured over the people like tides of battle. A man could not see his brother, nor the people be seen from heaven. Even the gods were terrified at the flood. They fled to the highest heaven, the firmament of Anu. They crouched against the walls, cowering like curs. Then Ishtar, the sweet-voiced queen of heaven, cried out like a woman in travail. Alas, the days of old are turned to dust because I commanded evil. Why did I command this evil in the council of all the gods? I commanded wars to destroy the people. But are they not my people, for I brought them forth? Now like the spawn of fish they float in the oceans. The great gods of heaven and hell wept. They covered their mouths. For 6 days and 6 nights the wind blew, torrent and tempest overwhelmed the world. Tempest and flood raged together like warring hosts. When the 7th day dawned, the storm from the south subsided. The sea grew calm, the flood was stilled. I looked at the face of the world, and there was silence. All mankind was turned to clay. The surface of the sea stretched as flat as a rooftop. I opened a hatch, and light fell on my face. Then I bowed low. I sat down and I wept. The tears streamed down my face, for on every side was the waste of water. I looked for land in vain, but 14 leagues distant there appeared a mountain, and there the boat grounded. On the mountain of Nasir the boat held fast. She held fast and did not budge. One day she held, and a second day on the mountain of Nasir she held fast and did not budge. A third day and a fourth day she held fast on the mountain and did not budge. A fifth day and a sixth day she held fast on the mountain. When the seventh day dawned, I loosed a dove and let her go. She flew away, but finding no resting place, she returned. Then I loosed a swallow, and she flew away, but finding no resting place, she returned. I loosed a raven. She saw that the waters had retreated. She ate. She flew around. She cawed. There, Cameron, make a caw, raven caw sound.
Caw.
Caw. All right, yeah. Oh, by the way, Jenna, come here. Jenna, come here. This is Jenna Doyley here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is only 253 days until Jenna Doyley's birthday, so if we could have a round of applause for Jenna Doyley. Thank you for caring enough to come to school even on your special day. Jenna, you made me lose my place.
Sir, can I do a raven in the meantime?
Yeah, just if you ask me, just. Then I loosed a swallow. Oh, you want to do the raven? I loosed a raven. She saw that she's. Hey, why aren't we focusing, people? What's the matter with us? What? I'm actually at work now, Sammy. I don't. Yeah, you can. Yes.
Can I have half?
Shut it, Miles. All right, back to page 1. The Epic of Gilgamesh. No, we're starting over. No, we're not. Huh? My pages are different. Don't you see? Shut it.
It was she flew away.
Then I loosed a swallow, and she flew away, but finding no resting place, she returned. I loosed a raven. She saw that the waters had retreated. She ate. She flew around. She cawed. She did not come back. Then I threw everything open to the four winds. I made a sacrifice and poured out a libation on the mountaintop. 7 and again 7 cauldrons I set up on their stands. I heaped up wood and cane and cedar and myrtle. When the gods smelled the sweet savor, they gathered like flies over the sacrifice. Then at last, Ishtar also came. She lifted her necklace with the jewels of heaven that once Anu had made to please her. Eli, come here a minute. So how does the artistic version compare to the real deal? So here's a real Ishtar, and I really should have face swapped you into this. Okay, thank you, Eli. Ishtar, goddess of beauty, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Sammy? Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Oh, you gods present. This is Ishtar speaking. O you gods present, by the lapis lazuli around my neck, I shall remember these days, as I remember the jewels of my throat. These last days I shall not forget. Let all the gods gather round the sacrifice, except Enlil. He shall not approach this offering, for without reflection he brought the flood. He consigned my people to destruction. When Enlil had come, when he saw the boat, he was wrath and swelled with anger at the gods, the host of heaven. Has any of these mortals escaped? Not one was to have boy, I botched that. Not one was to have survived the destruction. Then the god of the wells and canals, Ninurta, opened his mouth and said to the warrior Enlil, who is there of the gods that can devise without Ea? It is Ea alone who knows all things. Then Ea opened his mouth and spoke to the warrior Enlil. Wisest of the gods, hero Enlil, how could you so senselessly bring down the flood? Lay upon the sinner his sin. Lay upon the transgressor his transgression. Punish him a little when he breaks loose. Do not drive him too hard or he perishes. Would that a lion had ravaged mankind rather than a flood. Would that a wolf had ravaged mankind rather than a flood. Would that famine had wasted the world rather than the flood. Would that pestilence had wasted mankind rather than the flood. It was not I that revealed the secret of the gods. The wise man learned it in a dream. Now take your counsel, what shall be done with him? Then Enlil went up into the boat. He took me by the hand and my wife, and made us enter the boat and kneel down on either side, he standing between us. He touched our foreheads to bless us, saying, well, that won't work. He touched our foreheads to bless us, saying, in time past Utnapishtim was a mortal man. Henceforth he and his wife shall live in the distance at the mouth of the rivers. Thus it was that the gods took me and placed me here to live in the distance at the mouth of the rivers. As for you, Gilgamesh, who will assemble the gods for your sake, so that you may find the life for which you are searching? But if you wish, come and put it to the test. Only prevail against sleep for 6 days and 7 nights. So, Utnapishtim is, at least he's making the claim here, that Utnapishtim can grant Gilgamesh immortality. Gilgamesh just has to pass this one test. You've got to stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Caleb, get over here. So Gilgamesh is like, yeah, no problem. You know, look, I wouldn't want to try to stay awake 6 days and 7 nights, but if the prize was immortality, I'd give it my best. I'd be willing to give it my best.
But while Gilgamesh sat there resting on his haunches, a mist of sleep, like soft wool, teased him from the fleece drifted over.
He had one job. He falls asleep right away. I could do.
The mist of sleep like soft wool. And Utnapishtim said to his wife,
Look at him now, the strong man who would have everlasting life. Even now the mists of sleep are drifting over him. Wife?
Touch the man to wake him, so that he may return to his own land in peace, going back through the gate by which he came.
All men are deceivers. Even you he will attempt to deceive. Therefore bake loaves of bread. So this scheme here, this isn't just like woman get in the kitchen. This scheme, this is an elaborate scheme just to make Gilgamesh look like an ass when he wakes up. I promise you. It's worth following. Therefore, bake loaves of bread, each day 1 loaf, and put it beside his head, and make a mark on the wall to the number of days he slept.
So she baked loaves of bread, each day 1 loaf, and put it beside his head, and she marked on the wall the days that he slept. And there came a day when the first loaf was hard, the second loaf was like leather, the third was soggy, the crust of the fourth had mold, the fifth was mildewed, the sixth was fresh, and the seventh was still on the embers. Then Utnapishtim touched him, and he woke. Gilgamesh said to Utnapishtim the far away,
I hardly slept when you touched and roused me.
Count those loaves, why don't you? And learn how many days you slept. For your first is hard, your second like leather, your third is soggy, the crust of your fourth has mold, your fifth is mildewed, your sixth is fresh, and your seventh was still over the glowing embers when I touched and woke you.
Oh, what shall I do, oh Utnapishtim? Where shall I go? Already the thief in the night has hold of my limbs. Death inhabits my room. Wherever my foot rests, there I will find death.
So now I'm turning to the ferryman here. Woe to you, Urshanabi! Now and forevermore you have become hateful to this harborage. It's not for you, nor for you are the crossings of this sea. Go now, banished from the shore. But this man whom you walked, bringing him here, whose body is covered with foulness, and the grace of whose limbs has been spoiled by wild skins, take him to the washing place. There he shall wash his long hair clean as snow in the river. He shall throw off his skins and let the sea carry them away. And the beauty of his body shall be shown. The fillet on his forehead shall be renewed, and he shall be given clothes to cover his nakedness. Till he reaches his own city and his journey is accomplished, these clothes will show no sign of age. They will wear like a new garment.
So Urshanabi took Gilgamesh and led him to the washing place. He washed his long hair as clean as snow in the water. He threw off his skins, which the sea carried away, and showed the beauty of his body. He renewed the fillet on his forehead, and to cover his nakedness gave him clothes which would show no signs of age, but would wear like a new garment till he reached his own city, and his journey was accomplished. Then Gilgamesh and Urshanabi launched the boat onto the water and boarded it, and they made ready to sail away. But the wife of Utnapishtim, the faraway, said to him,
Gilgamesh came here wearied out. He is worn out. What will you give him to carry him back to his own country?
No. So I'm about to speak. Gilgamesh took a pole, brought the boat back into the bank. Gilgamesh, you came here a man wearied out. You've worn yourself out. What shall I give you to carry you back to your own country? Gilgamesh, I shall reveal a secret thing. It is a mystery of the gods, I am telling you. There is a plant that grows under the water. It has a prickle like a thorn, like a rose. It will wound your hand, but if you succeed in taking it, then your hands will hold that which restores his lost youth to a man. And that's what we'll pick up tomorrow. Gilgamesh continues his quest for immortality. That's thank you very much to our readers, except Tyler.
Walk around a lot a bit, trying to make the pieces fit to a puzzle with a million bits and pieces. What I'm feeling fine is when I discover that I'm afraid to blow my cover, and there's something very wrong with this. So slip back in your hole, or get back in your cave. If I'm going down, I'm taking someone with me.